It's been a while. It's absolutely been a hot minute since you saw these two mugs talking to you about something. And so we were kind of laughing about something this morning and figured, well, let's just hit record. Hey, T. So
Yeah.
talking about the balance between letting it go and going after what you want.
Yeah.
It's
When do you actually
complex.
know? Yeah.
What's that? Sorry, T. I cut you off.
No, it's okay. When do you actually know, right? Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah. Well, for me, like I'm used to like, okay, I can go after something. I can be aggressive towards a goal or towards an idea or whatever that might be. Um, but there comes a point where it's like, okay, this door doesn't feel like it's opening.
Hmm.
And then, oh, do I walk away? But if there's, I guess for me, if there's this, it feels incomplete. It feels like there's some unfinished business. And so I'll keep going back there. But I can see how that could be um translated into like relationships or into other things that might not actually bode well. Like this is really complex.
Yeah. So, the resistance, I guess, or like you said, when the door doesn't open automatically, do you take that as a sign to say, okay, that door's not opening, at least not for now? And do I go to another door or another,
Mm,
place on the fork in the road? Do I choose something else? Or do I chase it for a moment
mm,
and break through some of that resistance? Yeah, it's an interesting concept because I don't think there's one answer across the board for everything, right? But basing things on your experience recently, if you didn't go after it, if you
mhm.
just let it go, you actually wouldn't be stepping into what you're doing today, right?
I
So,
know.
yeah, how do we answer that question?
Like I was, I was first to market, so to speak. We had a great exchange initially, and there was a couple of follow-up communications. And then it was like the day that something was supposed to happen, and I was ghosted. And so I, gently followed up, was ghosted, gently followed up one more time and was ghosted again. And I was like, wow, this feels like harassment if I keep knocking on this door, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't stop there and I did one more try, but I went from a different perspective, a different angle, and I
Mhm.
elicited a response which turned into an agreement.
And had you given up, you wouldn't have that agreement and you wouldn't be moving forward with it. So, how do you know when to keep knocking or when to walk away?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have like we haven't processed this aloud? This is like all processing live here, folks.
You're watching it.
Tanya, can you think of something where that's shown up for you?
Well, I mean, when I consider the fact that like I've gone after things that I said that I wanted, but energetically didn't align. So I could tell at the time that I was forcing something.
Mm,
Like the thing that comes to mind is applying for something at Langara College.
mm,
It was like I did the paperwork, but there was this anger or irritation involved in it. It wasn't free flowing, it wasn't easy. And I remember driving down there to get the application in on time because I was racing the clock with that. That could be another indicator for me that it's not that important, or that I'm making it important after the fact. And traffic was terrible. I hit all the red lights, like all of those indicators that this is actually not what I need to be doing. And I went and spent $150 for registration, handing my paperwork in, knowing
begrudgingly?
begrudgingly, right? Kind of angry. There wasn't parking. Well, by the time I got there, I was irritated. I'm handing this paperwork in a state that wouldn't say I'm loving this and this is wonderful and this experience is going to be great. And guess what? I didn't get it, which I knew way before I actually handed over my money and handed over my paperwork. But I wasn't willing to tell myself the truth about that. So
And what was it about that you didn't want to tell yourself the truth? Like, what were
that's
you
a
facing?
yeah. I think the longing and the desire to do something and knowing that it was a sort of good enough choice instead of the make my heart sing choice.
Mm,
And as it turned out, it all of those times that I got told no, that was surprising to me. It was like, well, hang on a second. Those were my plans. I put A, B, and C in place so that I could, carry on that road. Actually turned out to be a gift. And
mm,
so, how do we know? I don't know, I'd say tuning into my intuition, because generally that tells me energetically what's going
Mhm.
on, right? But like you said, sometimes you have to hustle or go after things in order to make them happen. So,
It's true.
yeah, I think it's an individual who knows, but
Mhm.
leaning into the intuition is probably, because I would say, wouldn't you say that you leaned into your intuition about that?
I don't know if it was necessarily my intuition. I started making up stories about what might be going on, such that I'm being ghosted.
Right.
And at the same time, I really held true to why I wanted to have this happen. There were
Mhm.
two really important things. One was about my own wellness, and the other was about flexibility. So
Right.
these two things were two things that I hadn't been able to find in any other opportunity, and every other opportunity said no. And I'm like,
Right.
but there was something here.
Mhm.
So maybe something's just come up for this person so that, this is that explains it. And maybe it's not harassment. Maybe this is an indication of how badly I'm actually interested in it and how many other people have reached out like 6 times or 8 times or okay,
And
it wasn't 8 times. It was about
well,
six.
I love exaggeration. Um, and maybe those other people didn't reach out again,
Right.
and
And
you did.
yeah. So before we jumped on here, because we haven't digested this, I just plunked in that very question into Chat GPT and I haven't even read what it says. So
Okay.
I said, hey, chat, what says you about the balance between letting go and going after what you want? And this is what
Mhm.
chat said.
Okay.
Hey, Carol, that's a beautiful and potent inquiry. Here's what I say. The dance between letting go and going after what you want is really the edge of co creation, where
Mm.
desire meets surrender and intention meets trust. Ooh, I got goosebumps. I got angel bumps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Going after what you want is the declaration I am worthy of this. I'm willing to show up for it.
Mm.
Letting go is the whisper I trust that I don't have to control every detail for it to arrive.
Wow.
Here's how they harmonize. Desire sets the direction. It's your GPS point. It matters that you name it.
Mm.
Action puts energy in motion. Show up, take steps, learn, grow, and open. Letting go removes the static. It softens the grip and allows grace to weave in outcomes you couldn't script yourself.
Mhm.
So it goes on. There's not too much here. Too much grasping equals anxiety, force, and tunnel vision. Too much letting go is drift, detachment, stagnation.
Wow.
So maybe it's not either or. It's alignment of heart, soul, and timing. Ask, is my action inspired or fear driven?
Mhm.
Is my letting go avoidance or trust?
Wow.
When you want deeply without needing desperately, you're in the sweet spot.
Mm.
So the mantra, I take bold steps towards my dream and trust the universe to meet me with magic. I
Wow.
like, okay, who says AI is bad? That is a response that would have taken Tanya and I a week to come up with.
At least. And I mean, all great points. They certainly hit home, obviously. And that idea of, yeah, when we're chasing something and we're coming from a place of fear, lack, limitation, the likelihood that that door is going to open because we're attached to that being the answer,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, detaching from the expectation, in this practice of uh, manifestation, activation, whatever you want to call it, it definitely is that sweet spot in between the going after something and then letting it go to go, okay, so this or something better.
This or something better. Mike Dooley
Something
says that
better.
all the
Yeah,
time. And
love it.
Sarah Landon too,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go back to this question. Is my action inspired or fear driven? And is my letting go avoidance or trust? I think that is a brilliant way of looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
So
And
for me, in this whole example that I'm considering,
so,
it wasn't necessarily the thing itself. It was the outcome that I was expecting, that I wanted to experience,
yeah,
that I
yeah,
was holding on to.
right.
And I wonder if that's example of exactly that. Um,
Well,
inspired.
and if everything happens to, for our greatest good, did not hearing from that person make it so that you did go after it, right? Like that opportunity to go
Mhm,
after it. And you're always at choice. So you could have just said, okay, you know what? Closed door, move on, find
mhm.
something else. So, but I'm glad it worked out. because I've been ghosted before and that's not very fun. So
That's a
I'm
whole
glad
other
that
episode.
that way back in the day, thank God, no, I don't have to do those things anymore. Uh, testing theories in relationships. Yeah,
Mhm.
this is a great question though, and I think those answers from GPT are great indicators of what we can remember when we're going after something. Is this driven by fear or desire? Like, am I taking action from a place of desire or is it fear driven?
That's right. Am I in the process of co-creating my own life?
Mhm. It's a rich question.
It is.
Yeah,
Well, we want to hear your stories in the comments below. And if you haven't already subscribed, hit that little subscribe button on the bottom right. We would love to have you share in our future videos. Thanks for
absolutely.
listening.
See you next time.